Hey, welcome to another episode of Glenn Yaps. We're behind my drum set, my Yamaha kit in the studio. So I'm basically replying to someone who asked what foot technique I use for the kick drum and the hi-hat, and they noticed double bass in the one video there that had a picture of my big kit. So I'll explain the simple things of what I do for the technique on my feet. Basically, I'm not a heels up player like most drummers. Most drummers play the heel up technique. That is, I guess, to most the easiest to learn. I basically was taught the other way. There's a couple of reasons why. The first reason is I suffer from vertigo, and the vertigo spells that I have happen sporadically. That's why I also have a back, and have always had a back on my drum throne. When I first started playing, I didn't, and found that vertigo, I fell off. Had bad bouts of vertigo and would actually fall off the kit when I was younger, and had that happen a few times. So I learned quick that, okay, I need a catcher's thing on the back of my drum throne at the time. And back then, when I started in the 70s, you couldn't find a drum throne with a back, so I welded one up. We were always into restoring cars, so we had all the gear to do that, so I welded a back on it. So I've had a back ever since for my drum throne. Flat foot also came from the vertigo thing. I found that when I played on my toes, if I had a spell, I couldn't adjust fast enough. If I was losing my balance from this vertigo issue. So I went flat foot. Now some jazz players use it, and that's where most of my learning came from in the early days. So it took a little bit to get the hang of. Now the advantage of it is I can still get as fast as the toe players. It's all about leverage. So the movement took a bit to train, like the front part of your in the shin area and the calves. It's definitely different muscles, different than if you're a toe player. But like in the hand video, where I said that I don't like to waste energy, I found trying to keep my legs up and playing toe and almost hanging off the stool to make the pedals move, it just felt like I was like too many things to get working together to make it work for me, especially with vertigo. So I turned myself into just a giant human anchor. I just went, I'm going to plop in this chair, I'm not moving, and I'm just going to operate the pedals with the heel locked down, and like I do with the drumstick, whip the stick using fingers. I do the same thing with my feet with the kick drum. So that takes a long time to do and train, but I wasn't discouraged. I plowed through it, and it's worked for me. And I can play the bass drum just as loud as someone with with their full weight of their leg smacking down on that pedal with the toe method. Now the advantages of the flat foot, I can hit the beater into the head and hold it there, but it's quick for me to release it off. So when you hit into the head, hit and release, you get a bigger tone out of the kick drum. That's harder to do playing the toe method. Like some people might disagree with me, but for the most part, people bury the beater into the drum head with the weight of their thigh, and for the most part, just because there's so many parts having to move and cause that reaction. And I like to have that ability to play two different sounds: tight, or like on, that's dead. So there's two different sound zones there. So anyways, I'm going to try and get the camera down here. I don't know how much you can see. Yeah, so I'm trying to get some light in here just so you can see. So I use a split heel pedal. It's a single chain, single spring. And you can see the beater is shaved flat. I shaved the beaters a bit flat, gets a little more impact, and I vary these impact dots. Sometimes I've had the hard carbon ones, and so, and I can rotate the head on a different, like a full curved head or curved side of the beater, and some other variables on flat. So when I play, you can see it. Basically, I can go into the head and hold it, or take it off. In, off. Now, with this particular drum set, I have counterweights right here on the bass drum pedal beater. I really like the beater to have lots and lots of weight, and it helps train your feet to get used to moving that pedal down and throwing the beater. So remember the whip effect, like this, same thing. Even when I go back here, the stick is heavier. The center is where the stick is the most balanced, right? So you start adding power, you can move it back, but you have to train your fingers now to pick up the slack of the weight starting to amplify this end of the stick. So to get speed when you're this far back on the stick, takes a little bit of work. And like I say, using the towel technique I showed earlier is one of those ways, or in one of my other videos I should say. So there's really nothing about this pedal that is different from most pedals, except the bearings seem to be excellent in it, and there's some nice adjustments that you can make. I found this pedal fast and solid. I've never had breakdowns on it. I grease them up, and I've never had a problem with it. Now, when I use the toe technique, when I do double bass, fast double bass, I can keep heel down and play double bass. You can see, trying to get some lights down here. But I also use the toe method. It's not as much fun for me because of the vertigo thing, but I will I basically trained myself to do the toe thing also. It's just not something that I like to do. I find it just a bit awkward. But if I could just abolish it altogether, I would. Now, the HiHat. HiHat, same deal. Now, the difference here is back in the day, HiHat cymbal or HiHat stands sucked. I never liked them. This one here is an old Linko that I've had for, I'd say pretty much since I bought this drum set. And I love this. It's got a rubber foot on it, rubber foot pad. It's grippy, and for flat foot players, it's awesome. Now, the problem I had back then is I used to wreck hi-hat stands. I guess I have strong muscles in my ankle and my feet, and I used to break hi-hat stands. So I got this heavier one with a heavier chain and with tension on it that's really cranked pretty good. I have big legs and big feet, so I need a big heavy-duty pedal. Now, at the time, most of the companies, except for say Rogers, didn't have heavy-duty pedals for the hi-hat, so I would break the damn things all the time. So when I got this thing has been with me and it's lasted, and it's always on this kit. I never use it on any other kit. It's always on this kit. So I started learning to pulse a hi-hat, heel up. The problem with heel down on this is the cymbals get a little bit splashy when you first, where they get a little splashy and a little bit out of control. So as long as I have my bass drum foot going flat foot as the anchor to compensate for my vertigo episodes, I can actually bring this foot up and pulse the hi-hat. But I still play flat foot a lot on this. It's just part of my DNA to play flat foot. I'll rock it. I'll do the rocking thing where my heel actually hits down. I don't know if you can see that, but I actually hit the heel down to count the in-between hits of the hi-hat. There's a hit, hit, hit. That's just something I got into from playing with the metronome. So it's the counter beat on the metronome. And then when I splash the hi-hats, which is hitting the heel right here on the seam of the pedal, you can add accents at random while you're doing stick stuff on the drum set. And I took the toe piece off. There's a toe stop. I took that off so I can get my big feet up there. Now that's hard to do when you first start learning it, but I use it so much now that it's second nature now. It's just hard to hold a camera and do it. So that's the scoop. Also, when you're playing flat foot, I can go, if I go up here, I know it looks freaky, but if I wanted to get a hit in there, an odd accent, I can do that. Same with this. So, and the same with this one over here, although this one is not quite in the right position. It should be a little more closer, but I needed it for the light. So anyways, it's just so I can flip between the pedals. Now if I was playing the toe, I'd have to bring the whole leg over. Oops. Bring the whole leg over. But because I'm a flat foot player, I can just pivot. I'm trying to hold the camera and hold the flashlight at the same time, so, but anyways, you get the idea. Like I say, it's hard to hold the camera and a flashlight at the same time. So again, I got a counterweight on this pedal too, or a beater. Adds weight to it. This beater is also shaved. This is an impact dot. This is more made out of, it looks more like those old Duraline drum heads. I don't like both kick drums sounding the same. I find that to be a redundant thing. I like to have a different pitch. So my left kick is lower in pitch than my right one. That way I can have some definition in pitches and have a little more melodic sound than just machine gun sound. So I am not a, I love double bass, but I'll be honest, I absolutely hate the machine gun thrash metal bass drum, the double bass stuff. It's just not me. I just find if I wanted to listen to a machine gun going off, I'd listen to a machine gun going off, because that's what it sounds like to me. Now, I respect the talent of these players that have double bass that go that fast, and I know I can't play that fast, but I have no drive to play that fast. I basically like double bass to play melodic patterns in with the toms, with the cymbals. It's a melodic thing. Sure, there's some fast double bass that I use in some of my songs, but it's never at a standpoint from beginning to end. I just find when I listen to that, I get ear fatigue right away, and I just find it, for me, uneventful. It just doesn't make me go wow. But I respect the players that play that fast and achieving it's almost like athletic heights. But I'm not playing drums to be an athlete. But some of these guys, I can just imagine how fast they run on the street. They must be like gone. But it's just not my sound. It's just not what my ears want to hear. Like the double bass I like are from players like Gavin Harrison, Simon Phillips, Steve Smith, where it's broken up patterns and not overpowering to the point where that's all I hear in the song, and there's no room for anything else. That kind of music, like the thrash kind of stuff, that requires that, but I'm just not that type of player. Like if I got a call to do a fill-in with a thrash band, it would be like, probably not. It's like I definitely couldn't keep up without having a major heart attack. So anyways, that's my technique. I mean, I'm not showing you anything except for how my feet move on the pedals. I'm not showing you examples of how I play. I've got enough videos where you can basically hear on YouTube that what I'm doing. But for the most part, it's flat foot playing, and I do get a lot of power, and it has to do with that whip technique. Same as the finger technique. And I don't use a lot of muscles. I use minimal. That's why it looks like I'm asleep when I play drums. I just let the basic, smallest body motion do the work, and the rest of me just sits there and enjoys the ride. That's all I can say. And for watching, appreciate it. And if you have any questions, feel free to throw them at me through Facebook or YouTube. I love getting messages and questions about drumming or anything else that I yap about. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.